Hi, everybody. It's Tom Greenwald, together with my friend, producer, partner in crime, Quincy Brown. Welcome to the Show Must Go On Sale podcast about all things Broadway advertising and marketing. Today's inaugural episode will feature the one, the only Sonia Friedman, she basically needs no introduction. So to be quick about it, she's probably the most active, influential producer currently working both in the West End in London and on Broadway. Way too many credits to mention, and we're going to get to a bunch of them during her show. But most recently, she's got Stranger Things on Broadway. She had Merrily We Roll Along's incredible revival last year. Just an endless list of rich, rewarding theater that she has brought to both sides of the Atlantic. So excited to have Sonia with us. I couldn't be more delighted to welcome as my very first guest the inestimable, incredible Sonia Friedman, who I have known for probably 20 plus years. We've worked together for a good part of those years. Can't tell you exactly what the first show is that we worked on, but I think it might have been Boeing. Sonia, you might know because you have an encyclopedic memory.
Well, I think I can tell you what the first shows I produced on Broadway were, and you can tell me whether you were in the room.
Okay, go.
As a lead producer, the very first show I produced was Noises Off in 2001. I don't think that was you.
Wait, was it
The Patti LuPone at the
Yes,
Brooks Atkinson. I don't think that
yes,
was that
that
you?
was us. So we were there right from
Right,
the
right from
beginning
the
with
very
you.
beginning.
We have worked on so many shows together, from aforementioned Noises Off and Boeing and Norman Conquests in the earlier days to more recent incredible shows like Leopoldstadt and Hills of California and the one, the only Merrily We Roll Along,
And
which,
Ferryman.
and Ferryman, of course. But
We've got to talk about Ferryman.
got to talk about Ferryman, and we might talk about it a little bit later. Ferryman, an incredible, incredible play that I was slightly infatuated with the Troubles before then. I've been infatuated by them ever since. Just a quick shout out before we really dive into Merrily, because I think Sonia and I share the emotional opinion that it was the high point of our Broadway careers. Her as a producer, me as a marketer, for a variety of reasons that we might talk about a little bit later. My first question to you, Sonia, and it might be the last based on how we usually talk. Do you think advertising and marketing is fun?
It's fun when the show's a hit.
Kind of like
It,
everything else.
it's fun when tickets are selling. It's fun when you as a producer and you doing your job, our job is to amplify something that's already wanted. So
Mhm,
yeah, then it's great. It's really, really not fun when
mhm,
when a show is that, particularly if it's a show you love and care for deeply.
mhm.
um when it's not finding the energy, it's not hitting the zeitgeist. You can't find that secret sauce, then it's really, really not fun.
That's
uh,
actually one of the least funs about the business, when you feel like a show deserves to be successful
yeah,
and can't quite figure it out.
I mean, look, I'm not going to say what they are on on this podcast, but there are many shows I have produced over the years, you know that
Mhm.
I know when I'm sitting first preview or last rehearsal room run through or whatever, and I oh shit, this is going to be hard.
Mhm.
I mean, that's simply because you know that it's not quite all come together in the way you'd hoped or imagined when you set out to do it. So then it becomes like a job. It's like, okay, roll the sleeves up. What can we do? How can we make the best of this? Just
Yeah,
being clear that all the best intentions when we set out, but not everything comes together. It's like
of course.
a wonderful recipe, but the ingredients aren't quite. So marketing for me, it can sometimes be really, really stimulating because you're going, all right, how can we crack this? What do we, what haven't we got right? And of course, in the earlier days, now you're going to come on to this, so much of it had to be based on instinct, gut, and sort of like what you were feeling in the air.
Couldn't agree more about how painful it can be to try to make a show that you love work with the marketplace. When a show is just earliest stages, ticketing and sales isn't even quite part of the equation yet, and making the brand from scratch and coming up with the piece of imagery or artwork that ultimately would go out into the world. Do you enjoy that part of the process?
I love it. But I tell you what's quite interesting though. If I look back over my career, and if you saw my London office, I've got every single poster on a wall I've ever produced. And it's not a coincidence that the artwork and the posters that I love the most have also been the shows that
Mhm.
have done the best.
Really, not the shows you necessarily love the most, but have done the best, which often but not always coincide, right?
Bit of both, but all right, put it the other way round. The artwork that I have struggled to find the stamp, the image that best represents the show that I literally want to have on my wall, and I'm
Yeah.
proud of that. The harder it is to find that image, I usually find the harder it is to sell that show.
Do you think that's
Um,
actually a perfect metaphor for the fact that some shows are just hard to convey an essential want to see in advertising bite-sized nuggets?
yes, I think so, particularly plays. But it's just an interesting observation that unfortunately for me now sort of like follows me around, because if the art doesn't sort of land for me very quickly, and if I'm really struggling to communicate with likes of you or the people who are designing it, it tells me that there's something not that's just not quite right with the piece itself. And
Yep.
that's a very early warning sign for me, a very early message that we have to work much harder to tell the story through art.
Do you feel like your tastes have changed? Like when you look at the wall, either as artwork or as the kinds of shows you produce?
Well, definitely types of shows I produced, but I look at some of the art on my wall going back 30 years, and it's some of the best stuff I've
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So no, it's pretty much the same in terms of what I think makes a great piece of artwork.
Do you feel like there's one or a couple times a show was somewhat of a tough nut to crack, and then you feel like you really cracked it, both in the brand itself and how it was
Oh,
marketed?
many, 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 many times. I
Yeah.
mean, it depends whether we're talking about in New York or London. Well, actually, funny enough, you mentioned Boeing
Yeah.
earlier, um, which was a show I produced here in London back in 2006, 2007. That was basically impossible to sell.
Yeah. I'll say.
Um,
Mark Rylance wasn't Mark Rylance then,
no,
for
no,
one thing.
no. Mark Rylance was a wonderful but unknown
Yeah.
Shakespearean actor from the Globe, and suddenly he was in a 1960s sex farce,
French sex farce, I believe.
French sex farce, yeah. Um, and it was a very, very complicated thing to try and sell before anyone saw it.
Yeah.
And I thought I had an absolute disaster on my hands,
Yeah.
because nobody was indeed buying a ticket for it.
In
And
the West End you're talking about.
yeah, in the
Mhm.
West End, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, People would avoid my eyes. They would avoid looking at me. They felt so sorry for me
Mhm.
as I was in rehearsals leading up to the opening, because the sales were basically non-existent, and
Mhm.
looking at closure within a week or two.
It didn't close within a week.
No, it was really good.
Well, the show,
And the
it's
thing
always the show.
is that it's something we'll talk about. No genius marketing or press can do. It's the show. It's the word of mouth from preview one. And this is before social media and the world we now live in. It it was literally a vertical line. It's certainly the first time I, as a producer, saw it in action.
And nothing does that like a comedy, by the way. There's no word of mouth
Yes,
like
I think
comedy word of
yeah,
mouth.
Yeah.
And Sonia, I can attest to it being the same here. First of all, it remains one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So this is no surprise. If Sonia came to us today and said, I have this French farce with a Globe actor, it would be the same thing. We'd be like, how the hell are we going to sell this thing?
Yeah, but you can't repeat it, can you? It's one, so you do it once.
You can't repeat
You
it.
can never emulate your previous success. Move
No,
on.
no, it's true. But occasionally there are still those kinds of successes that pop out of nowhere, especially comedy wise, um, like an O'Mary. But I do remember the early days of art development in New York on Boeing, and I think we did something quite different here, but it was also an illustration.
I loved it. The Boeing art was very difficult because we didn't really have anybody famous
No.
in it.
Mm-mm.
But you also wanted to sort of feel like it was felt fresh and modern, but it also
Yeah.
had to absolutely be set in its period. So
Yeah.
that was very hard. But then it literally looked after itself. Great artwork, great performance, great play. That's the best thing for a producer and what you do, because our job is just to sort of like keep fueling the fire. That's it. You don't have to sit in these meetings and sort of pull your hair out and go, "Oh, now what?" It literally, it's ours to fail at that point. And sometimes you even think if we didn't do anything, it would still do fine. You know, when those come along, they're great. But I'm telling you, the artwork is usually really strong alongside it.
Sonia,
Um,
do you think in the current Broadway landscape, a show with no quote unquote reason to care, but is extraordinary as a show can still skyrocket to success?
I don't know what you mean by reason to care.
Where you're saying Boeing, Boeing, no one really knew who Mark Rylance was. It was a French farce that didn't have any buzz or ticket sales going in, but then it was so good that people just started buying.
I think you have to believe that's still possible. It's just obviously so much harder in New York now, than it ever was, because of the risk involved, and that you need a long runway to build that word of mouth. I mean, you need many weeks before you know whether or not you're gonna make it, if you haven't got a big advance. And the sort of play show you're talking about that doesn't have a big advance, you've literally got to look at writing off hundreds of thousands a week before you get to the opening, and then you've got to have a successful opening. The timing of a show, you know, I've realized more and more is crucial, and critical in terms of where, as to whether you may or may not cut through and break through. And I don't just mean timing in terms of the Broadway season. I mean literally what is happening in the world,
yeah.
politically, financially, socially. You know, that you could have a really great piece of work, but it could just come along at the wrong moment. And that, you know, we've done them ourselves, where we're saying if only we'd done this 2 years ago, or if only we'd waited a year or two, you know.
Mhm.
And that you just go, our timing sucked. The show didn't, but the timing did. And that is, something I'm thinking more and more about, particularly on Broadway.
I mean, interesting, Sonia, you're talking about timing. And of course, the biggest elephant in the room with timing recently has been the pandemic and how it stopped everything in its tracks, and nothing has really been the same since. I do think it's interesting that your first two shows out of the gate after the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken, were Funny Girl and Leopoldstadt. The fact that Funny Girl had one path to success that is worth talking about in itself, because a producer's job as marketing is to put butts in seats. And that's not just what kind of ad is up there, but what's on the stage, of course. And Leopoldstadt, which found that kind of sweet spot again, no one really famous, a play, Tom Stoppard, of course, is the most
Yeah.
famous playwright in the world, basically, but no one famous on stage. It found its own different way to success. Anything conscious about the fact that those were your first two shows to bring to Broadway after the pandemic?
Both projects were cooking before the pandemic, and in my mind were Broadway bound.
Galileo actually, didn't it abort its run in London?
We were 7 weeks into the
Yeah.
run when we got
Yeah.
shut down. Obviously, I was always going to plan to bringing that back in London. With Leopoldstadt, I just felt I had a responsibility, almost like a duty to bring it to New York, because I felt actually that is where that play really belonged. It was very, very, very challenging because we were one of the first plays to open.
Not only that, the audience for a show like
And
that is
well,
the most reluctant to come back.
well, they were, and they, they were a particular demographic, particular age. The reason we opened when we opened, which was as early on in the season as we could, sort of September-ish, was I didn't want us to be opening in the winter because I didn't want COVID to get into the building. Particularly, we had older people in the company. And as I said, our audience, because I was like, okay, the closer we get to winter, the more likely we are to hit another spike, and the more likely we are there to shut down. So I wanted to open earlier in the season so that we got some momentum before we might have got shut down by another COVID spike. I mean,
incredible.
Those are the things you had to think about. I would never have opened the play that early on in a season if my intention was to keep going through to the Tonys.
In fact, Sonia, as you well know, that was particularly bold of you to open in the fall, because nowadays it's become like December for the movies. Late March through April is now rush hour times 1,000 with everybody who wants to get in while the Tony nominators are top of mind.
I think it's anti-theatre. I think it's anti-creativity.
It is, right?
I don't think it's helpful for the audiences. I don't think it's helpful for the people who are having to review the work. It's definitely not good for the producers or the investors. It's definitely not good for the artists. It's an unfair system. It's wrong that all these shows are butting up against each other, and you're having to open at 10 o'clock in the morning, as it were, on some shows in order to be able to find a slot to open.
Yeah, there's double openings.
Work is not given a chance. Art is not given a chance. But the whole community has to come together on this, because and the theatre owners have to come together on it, and everybody has to go, we've got to spread the work out, and we've got to make it feel you're as likely to succeed in September, October, and you're as likely to get a Tony or whatever it is you're after as you are if you open and close before February of the Tony season.
Here's an idea I have. Tell me what you think of this. I haven't really told many people. You're the first. I think there should be 2 times that Tony nominations are announced, once halfway through the season and once at the end of the season. So say in January, the first 5 of each thing are nominated as Tony semifinalists. And then at the end of the season, the next batch. And then from that, the actual Tony nominees can be determined. So there's voting for the first half of the season and voting for the second half of the season.
I think the problem with what you're saying is, I think if it's like you're in the shortlist to be a nominee.
Yeah.
If it's just a short, not you've got your nomination.
No, shortlist. Yeah.
I think that's.
Is that crazy?
No.
And then it creates a mid-season marketing moment too.
There's got to be a solution to this.
Yeah.
I've been thinking, do you completely change the date? Do the Tonys come at a different time of year altogether? Or is the cutoff?
Yeah, but whenever the cutoff is, everybody will back time to that. So it depends, no matter when in the year it is, right?
Yeah.
It'll either be crazy in November or crazy in
Yeah.
April.
The Tonys dominate so much in terms
Yeah,
of the cycle of work, and we sit in marketing meetings. It's what you talk about, and I'm like,
we do.
maybe it's because I'm English, I don't know, but we don't sit in the London marketing meetings and have your whole campaigns dictated by the Olivier.
No.
It literally doesn't come up in conversation.
I do want to ask you about Funny Girl because I want to, that actually opened the season before Leopoldstadt, I think. You're a producer, but you're also the head marketer as the producer. How many times have you faced an issue like you did with Funny Girl, which was it's not quite clicking, but there is a solution, and pulled the trigger on that solution to such incredibly successful effect? Was that a one and doneer? Is that a oneer? Or
Well, I don't really want to talk too much about it, to be honest,
yeah,
because
understood,
I want
understood.
to respect people's confidentiality. I
Sure.
think, but what I would say about Leah Michelle is that it was a meta moment. I don't think you can recreate that. It was meta because she'd let it known to the world for many, many years this was her dream role, and it kept on evading her.
Yeah.
It kept on not happening for her for lots of different reasons. And the whole of a Glee storyline was written around it. And I think it was a moment where we needed each other. And that made for an incredible moment in
Yes.
theatre. People talk about Nicole Scherzinger's, 7 standing ovations. That's
Yeah.
what Lynn Michelle got, every night.
Yeah.
People went bananas. One of my jobs is to find every single way to keep a show running. I had to do everything I could possibly do to make that show work. But trust me, it was not easy for any of us.
Yeah.
And as I say, I want to protect
Of
people in
course.
the process, and everybody behaved very, very well.
Yeah.
Actually, everyone behaved very, very well under very difficult circumstances.
But your
Okay.
job as a producer is also artist management, and not even talking about Funny Girl. I just see on a lot of other shows producers having to balance the commerce versus art debate. And do you value one over the other in your seat?
Well, it changes. It has changed, actually. Obviously, you have to use both sides of your brain. You have to use the business and the numbers, as well as the artistic and the creative. But I will always hope that the creative dominates. But the business has to make some sort of sense. There has to be, I always say this, the why. Why this work? Why now? Why will people choose your show over the 150, 250 other things they could do that night? Be it a film, another piece of theatre, a restaurant, a nightclub, sitting at home, watching Netflix. What is what have you got? What makes your show and your idea different? And so, I will try and answer that question. And to be honest, there was a time 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where being just really good might have been enough. It's not anymore.
Mhm.
And I think that is the challenge we have doing our work,
Yeah.
that being just a really good piece of theatre, it has to be, you walk out of that theatre and you have to go, what the fuck did I just see? I have to tell everybody about it. It's like oh my God,
Yeah.
that was extraordinary. Not, yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if you
Yeah,
don't,
I really liked it. You're
not
gonna,
good enough.
you're gonna, you're gonna, you're gonna,
Yeah. It was good, not good enough. If
you're gonna
you,
close. You're gonna close.
If you don't have a star,
unless it's got a star in it.
yeah, if you don't
No,
have a star,
yeah,
you have to be like
yeah.
a zeitgeist. You have
Let's
to be a
be clear.
zeitgeist hit now.
You have to have, yeah. I mean, I did a couple of plays over here recently.
Over here, meaning in London, which is where you are.
Yeah, sorry, London,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Both of them had that. When people walked out, they went, I'm telling everybody about this. It's sort of like they were trembling, or they were, and you saw that in the box office. We didn't have to do a lot around the marketing to feed that.
You're describing the years, right?
I'm describing actually both Oedipus and the years,
Oh,
and they
Oedipus,
have to
yeah.
be running at the same
Yeah.
time. But both of those, opened well. But both of those, the audience took over.
Yes. Yeah.
And your job is just to make sure that it's available for people to know how to buy tickets,
Yeah.
and that you remain in their consciousness.
Yeah, they hit the zeitgeist. Like they were written
They hit the
about.
zeitgeist.
They were
They
written
hit the
about
zeitgeist.
outside of the theater
Yeah.
pages. There was an op-ed piece, of course, like a famous op-ed piece here about the years, and no surprise. I have one nuts and bolts thing I want to talk to you about, which is the use of quotes, which is such a polarizing issue in our business. A necessary evil, pick your cliche. We can talk about how reviews themselves play into marketing. I well know your opinions and attitudes about how the reviews and the New York Times here on Broadway skew and cripple the business in a way. So anything you want to say about that?
I think for me, the use of quotes are bad, or rather, it depends who you're quoting. Number one.
Yeah. But how do you believe a quote from a
Well, no,
rail?
I don't know what I was going to say. And I've had this conversation with a lot of colleagues as well about, let's just start with the stars. Now, everybody does stars, but every blog does stars, every online does stars, nearly all the newspapers do stars. Interestingly, the Observer has just decided not to do stars.
Oh,
I think is a very, very bold move on their part, because they think it's reductive. How can
yeah,
you?
yeah.
I'm, in one sense, anti-stars, because everybody can just smother their poster with stars.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm very pro-stars when all my shows get 5 stars. So I am in total conflict, and I contradict myself all the time. I'm told in the focus groups, most people say they don't look at stars.
Do you believe them?
They don't believe the stars anymore.
No, but do you believe them when they say that?
I don't know. Because I do think that I think most people don't go and see a show because they pass a poster and see it's got a lot of stars in it. I think it'll all be part of what they've heard, what they'll look up online, what the algorithm is feeding them, etc. It's part of something. I certainly think if you have a show that has done very, very, very well in the reviews, the 5 stars across, scattered everywhere, do not harm you.
Yeah.
So long as you can back it up when people go online to learn about you. And I think in terms of quotes, I don't believe quotes in actually, unless it says this is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
This is the play of the year. You have to see this. That's otherwise something that you can't cut. But if it just says stunning, amazing, I mean, obviously they could be talking about a dress. I don't believe one words, but we've all been there, and we go with the one word when you've got nothing else to sell.
Yeah, I think that's the question. It's like we've all been in the room where the New York Times review was a B or a B minus, but it's like we have to find something from the Times to lead with, or to make sure we have the sign off of the Times. And that's where I think the audience is a little bit smarter than, listen, we're all doing what we can at that point. And there's no way I'm saying don't do something like that, but that's what leads to your conflicted feelings about them, and quote deflation and all of that stuff is the effort to get a silk purse from a sow's ear. The New York Times, by the way, has gotten much more strict about policing what
It'll be
people
very
feel.
interesting what happens in this new era as well.
Very,
Mhm.
very, because Jesse Green was one of the stickliest sticklers about it. So one last thing I want to talk about is Merrily, because I I am a firm believer, and Quincy's heard me say this before, that when you sell a show, you don't sell the plot, you sell the emotion. My colleague and the actual founder of SpotCo, Drew Hodges, also talks about this. My personal belief is when someone asks you what a show is about, they're already disinclined to see it. And once you tell them what it's actually about, they become less inclined to see it. But as you said, Sonia, before, if someone leaves the theater and says, that was the most amazing piece of theater I ever saw, or that was the funniest show I ever saw, they're not telling a person the plot. They're telling a person the emotion they got
Yeah.
and what they felt when they saw it. So when we first met about Merrily, which was, God knows, 12 years in the making, 14 years in, I don't even
Oh,
remember.
wow. I
When I
didn't know
first saw
that.
it at the Chocolate Factory, it was 2012 or something, but Sonia would know, directed by her brilliant sister, Maria Friedman. It was the production that made the forgotten masterpiece a heralded masterpiece. In any event, you came to us and said it's not about show business, it's not about backstabbing, it's not about going backwards. It's about the feeling you get when you have best friends. It's about friendship and the love of best friends. That was all we
That's it.
needed to create what we created for that piece of artwork. Do you remember that, having that
Oh yeah,
feeling?
I do, because actually the thing is we'd made a mistake in London with the artwork because
Ah,
we pushed on the entertainment. We had light bulbs and we had marquee, the artwork was literally Merrily We Roll Along on a marquee with light bulbs all around it. So
Mhm.
what we were doing, we were
more
focusing on completely the wrong thing.
more
This was
showbiz,
this was
all
this was
showbiz.
not a musical about showbiz.
No,
But that is how I have to say we positioned it in the West End. And even though it got incredible reviews, we didn't find our way through it. So we had to get through the London for me to go, but I'm a quivering wreck at the end of this show.
yeah.
Why? And
Mhm.
so but we sort of learned that through the London production, what
Yeah,
it was actually, what the essence of it was, and that led us through to New
yeah.
York.
The original artwork is kind of showbizy too, like the way back
They
when.
are, they are, they are, and in fact, we're about to launch the movie, and
Yes, yeah,
the film of it. And the one thing we've just said is not about showbiz,
yeah.
not about because actually some of the artwork that came through for that was the usual light bulbs, and it's like nope.
The film is wonderful, by the way. I've seen it. A couple of quick questions. You can answer them or you can not answer them for the 11 o'clock number Q&A. What?
I don't know what you've got to test me on stuff.
No, I'm not. But I'm going to ask you a question that if you can't think of anything right away, it doesn't matter. Might be an impossible question to answer, but do you have a favorite campaign out of all your shows?
I actually do think one of the most successful campaigns has been Leopoldstadt. Our artwork for that
By the
was
way, same artwork in London and Broadway.
so beautiful. Told you everything you needed to know, and
Yeah,
the little boy, the little girl, the cat's cradle. That was an absolute joy to work on
yeah.
as a campaign.
We didn't talk about Ferryman.
It was
It
hard
was
actually.
it was hard.
That was very hard capturing the artwork. It was like, how do you capture this extraordinary, epic three-act piece, this
Yeah,
family? Because it was about so
yeah.
much. And again, that's definitely one you can't just sort of sum up in a sentence. But
No.
actually, I think we did really well
Yeah,
because we captured the family life around a kitchen table,
we did.
animals, and I think we did really well there.
And we made some great TV spots out of it too, as I remember. Some very
Yeah.
arresting stuff. Do you have a favorite campaign for a show that you didn't work on?
Ooh. Actually, I think the MJ campaign is very good. I think that artwork is really good. The initial artwork
Yeah,
is very, very strong. I
yeah.
think the artwork for Tina Turner was very, very strong. I think the Equus with Daniel Radcliffe
That one was incredible.
was
Yeah, yeah.
genius.
Yeah, it was brilliant. That's three. You don't have to come up
Yeah,
with
no, no, I'm just
anything.
trying to, yes, yes. And look, Chicago. Chicago, when Chicago first came out, my sister
Yeah.
was actually in Chicago, so I followed that campaign
Yeah.
very closely. Absolutely brilliant. It was so sexy. It was so sultry. It was so cool. You wanted to be in that space. And then it delivered because when you went, there they were. So I do actually think the Chicago campaign,
Yeah.
however many years ago that was now, was absolutely
29.
extraordinary.
Coming
Um,
up on its 30th anniversary next year.
Gosh.
Yeah. And Drew Hodges will be very happy when I tell him you cited that
Oh,
show.
is that true?
It's Drew, and it was OG spot design turned into SpotCo. Yeah.
Wow.
Chicago and Rent were the first two Broadway shows
And
Drew.
Rent was brilliant too.
Yeah, Rent was great.
Rent was
I have,
brilliant.
I have one last question for you. What do you consider an easier show to sell? A celebrity in a bad show or an unknown cast in a great show?
Well, you know what the answer is. It's
Unfortunately, I do.
I mean, it's not even a question, it's just a statement. I mean, it is easier to sell a celebrity in a bad show than it is certainly
Up
uh,
front.
up front. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually, they,
All the way through?
yeah, if you get a big advance, I mean, we're not going to talk what those shows are, but we've all
Yeah.
know what they are.
Yeah.
Uh, and they still do 1.5 million a week.
What's more rewarding then?
Oh, of course, what's more rewarding is taking a great play, a great work of art, a great piece of theatre, something that changes hearts, changes minds, changes opinions, creates debate, creates discussion, and and crucially hits the zeitgeist. Boom,
Something
boom.
someone's never seen before.
You are talked about. You have to go and experience it.
That's the best feeling in the world.
Oh, totally, totally. I mean, and that's truthfully, it's what I live for.
Yeah, that's why you keep chasing
What
it,
I lose, it's what I live for.
despite all the many conversations we've had
What I,
about the
what's even
financials of Broadway.
better, if you can find that play and you got a star in it, then you find, then
Yeah.
bingo,
Bingo.
then bingo.
Bing, bingo. Okay. On the note of bingo, I think we are good. Sonia, thank you so much for joining Quincy and myself for this inaugural
Well,
episode.
you know what's really interesting, Tom,
Yeah.
is we haven't we haven't argued with each other.
That's because
There
we're
was
not
some talking
talking.
over each other.
Yeah, that's because we're not talking about a specific show or a specific campaign. I think Sonia
Or
and
one of your strap lines,
yeah, my
or
brilliant strap lines over the
one of your
years.
strap lines, or one of your ideas.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, listeners,
This woman has argued with me since day
he
one.
does have some good ideas, yes, but
You have to pick them out.
that's what's great in the room. We'll really disagree with each other,
Yeah,
and unfortunately for the rest of the room, they have to witness it, and they're thinking, "Oh my goodness
they
me!"
love it.
Yeah, but I think they know by now, don't they? That
I think they know by now.
it's part of the how we try to get the best out of each other, and I have to say, we don't. It doesn't always work.
Yes, but we usually do. I think Sonia Friedman is Sonia Friedman, so there aren't that many people who will actually go
Hmm.
toe to toe with you, to be frank. So part of me has to believe that you kind of enjoy that at least there are a couple people in the room who will mix it up with you.
It's good
Quincy,
because
what?
I know it comes from a place of mutual respect
Yeah,
and history and
and caring about the thing.
totally. But also, we can go toe to toe because you know where I've come from,
Mhm.
and
Yep,
I know where you've come from, and we've got sort of history experience
we
behind
do.
us.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think I'd enjoy going toe to toe with somebody who didn't know who I was or didn't understand
of course.
me, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Quincy, did you have a last thing?
I was gonna say final question for Sonia. What is your Tom Greenwald pet peeve?
Oh, for God's sakes. Too many to count.
My pet peeve. Well, as I just said, terrible straplines. No, no, what I tell you what's interesting about Tom is,
This is not the topic of the podcast.
no, I know, what's interesting about Tom is he will try and encourage me not to be, what's the word, too humble
Mm,
sometimes.
Mhm.
And I
That is
don't, do
true.
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I remember many times where I've urged you to be a little braggier than you wanted to be.
And I find, and I sort of slightly bristle with that.
Yeah, I don't blame
mm,
you. Quincy, I'll tell you one anecdote before we leave.
okay.
Sonia and I were standing in the back during the final performance of Merrily We Roll Along, and I was crying, and she saw me crying, and she came over to me and gave me a hug and said, "You do have a heart." Yeah.
Oh, I know you've got a heart, Tom.
Oh.
No, you do. But she was giving me shit, even at this incredible moment of the greatest experience of our lives, basically, was
Hmm.
being a part of this show. Still
Good.
one last little jab to keep it real.
Mm.
I love you,
Thank
That's
you.
Sonia.
beautiful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Well, I hope this is helpful for the future of your podcast, and
It is.
all the best with it.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you. We'll let you know.
I do need to give you a line reading though. Tell me again what this podcast is called.
The show must go on sale.
No,
What do you think?
doesn't make sense.
The show must
Well,
go on dot 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 sale because it's
it's
about
hard to say that.
advertising.
It's
Oh,
hard to
the
say
show
that
must
though.
go on sale.
So just say the show must go on sale.
I think it's just welcome to the show must go on sale. Then, because if you, I'm going to do it for you. The show must go on sale.
Well, now it sounds stupid.
That's what you said.